Hey guys, this is Cody and you're on the channel Cody Tarot. First and foremost, let's welcome all the new subscribers. Thank you for joining the channel. It really means a lot to me that you're here with us. If you feel like commenting below, you can, or if you feel like liking a video, feel free to do so. Everyone's welcome. Okay, today's reading is how does your ex remember you? So if you're curious, if you have an ex that there hasn't been a lot of contact, or there's not really a lot going on between you two, or you don't really know what's going on in their head, this is kind of a no contact reading, basically to figure out how do they remember you? How do they remember you? How did they remember the relationship? And how did they remember how they treated you? What's the lens that they're viewing it in? All right, so let's get to the crystals. First, we have rose quartz. So, real quick, so make sure you have a specific X in mind when you're thinking about this reading. If you have multiple X's you want to get the reading for, then you can pick multiple crystals, one for each of your X's, but it's pretty much going to be one X per crystal. So first crystal, rose quartz. Second crystal is Labradorite. Third crystal is this green calcite. And the last crystal is this Kunzite. All right, you can pause the video here if you need more time to pick your crystal. After you selected your crystal, we will get on with the reading. All right, and with that, we'll get on with the reading with group number 1, the rose quartz. Hello, group 1, if you picked the rose quartz. So this will be your reading. Let's get into it. So first, we'll start with the animal oracle cards up here. So for your partner or your ex, we have stag spirit, take the lead. And for you, we have co-create with spirit. So what I'm seeing here is the way, first of all, that they viewed you as a person, or how they remember you, is kind of someone of with a spiritual nature, someone who kind of is in a dance with the universe. They may have seen you get involved with specific things in your life that just show that you have more of a spiritual nature, and they really remember that fondly. We also see with the crow here, they may have seen you or remember you as slightly more mysterious, like they never fully ever got to know you, that you were always kind of a mystery to them. We see here, they saw themselves as the leader in this relationship. They felt that they were always having to lead you, or kind of show you the way, or show you the direction in which to go in. Almost kind of the whole idea of they just kind of would take you by the hand and they would decide what to do. So if it would have to deal with having to pick a place to go out to eat, or what you wanted to do on your free time, or where you guys want to go on dates, it was always them who had to make the decision. So they definitely saw themselves as more the leader in that regard. I see down here that a few of the things that started your relationship, there was this 9 of Wands energy where one or both of you felt very stagnant in your life, that you've been sitting still for quite some time before you got into the relationship. It looks here with this 3 of Pentacles energy that you guys met in kind of a group working environment. This straight up to me represents a working environment, as in a job, you guys were co-workers together. Or this could just represent that you both work really well on projects together, that if you were coworkers, you would make really good coworkers. And it's definitely how the relationship began and how it started was kind of this beautiful kind of idea of this really kind of nice, well, right here we have co-create with spirit. That's kind of the whole thing. You guys were kind of co-creating together and creating your reality based on working with maybe just not you two, but a couple other people as well. We see here that this relationship definitely felt like a King of Pentacles type of relationship. I always read the King of Pentacles as kind of like a teacher, someone who is kind of educating someone else, but also someone who is like wealthy, very much a paternal father figure, a home or family man, but in the most practical sense possible. So I definitely see that as this stag spirit person, your ex kind of remembers that they kind of guided you, or they had to kind of guide you, even though it seems like you're a little more spiritually advanced than they are. And I don't even like to use those terms as one person being more spiritually advanced than the other, but I think that's just how they see it. They saw that you were a little bit more spiritually advanced, but they would teach you in other things. And because this is a Pentacles card, I definitely see them teaching you in more practical things. So they definitely remember having to take the lead, having to teach, having to guide. That might be one of the things that was irritating in the relationship, but we see that that's not going to be the case for most of you. That was just kind of something that they remember about the relationship. That they remember is that they were always kind of teaching you or showing you things. Make sure the camera's still on. Yeah, so basically how they remembered the relationship, we have here, which says, turn on your heart light, reflect on a time when you experience love. So definitely they remember you fondly. They definitely look back on these times of their life with you, and they think of them with such a grace and with such fondness for you and the relationship. But the thing is this is where it gets tricky, and this is the part of the relationship that they remember that was not so great. So, and this was towards the end of the relationship when you guys were probably just about to break up or just about to go separate ways. So we have two cards here for you both. We have the Lovers and the Devil. So basically what this just means is that this is kind of like an interesting situation. It's almost love that's too intense. It's love that's too good to be true. So with the Lovers here, we have that beautiful union where you both could really be yourselves. You both could reveal yourselves to each other. It was really amazing. It was beautiful. It was wonderful. Each one of you could let down your guard with the other one, and you really were happy. You guys had a very happy relationship, and it was definitely with the combination of these two cards is the intimacies of your dating life were very, very nice. You guys were definitely really compatible on like all levels. Really, the Lovers represents all levels of compatibility. So spiritual, mental, physical, emotional, all levels of compatibility. Now, the thing is when paired with the Devil card, we get this kind of like flip-flop kind of thing going on where the relationship can seem kind of like possessive in some respects. So they definitely remember either they were being, too possessive, or you were being too possessive. I'm definitely seeing it as both of you because it's paired right next to the Lovers card. And it's kind of this thing that started out really wonderful and amazing. It turned into this kind of like obsession and addictive quality, and you guys almost couldn't get enough of each other. And in a way, you were suffocating each other. So they do remember that end part. They do remember the beginning of the relationship very fondly. They really like that aspect of it. But, and even towards like close to the end when you guys have that perfect harmony, but definitely with the Devil card right here, there's definitely a reason why you two broke up. There was definitely obsessive or addictive behavior. This could have involved some kind of like substance use, or even like the obsessive or addictive behavior between the both of you leaching out into your other activities and making you more obsessive about those activities. So I mean, they definitely, like, I don't know who broke up with who because I'm not getting that information, but they definitely realized that that was happening, and obviously you guys split. But for the most part, they really remember you fondly. They remember their relationship fondly. Yes, they knew there was a reason that you guys had to break up, but for the most part, they saw you as this, like, they remember you as this really spiritual person. Crows also tend to fly in packs. And definitely we see that over here with the work environment, with the Three of Pentacles. They definitely remember you as this person who enjoys like group activities, someone who is very spiritual. And what I'm seeing here too is that this Nine of Wands energy is not in the situation anymore for either one of you. So it was almost as if the one thing that you did benefit from in this situation with your ex, the one thing that was positive in this situation, is that it both got you out of this really long standing, stagnant, enduring energy, gets you into a more fresh perspective. And we see that here with it being all the way on the left and then as the farthest thing left behind in the relationship. So definitely they remember teaching you, but they remember the relationship fondly. So yeah, I think I about covered it. So that was how your ex remembers you. If you like the reading, you can like or comment below. If you really like the reading, you can subscribe to my channel. I post these pick a cards pretty frequently. With that said, I really enjoyed reading for you guys. And moving on to group number 2. Hello guys, this is for group 2. This is if you picked the Labradorite. I like to get this shine. I don't know if that's shining, if you guys can see that shine on that Labradorite. But that's one of my favorite things about Labradorite is because it has that shiny quality. And that's something, interestingly enough, that happens in your reading. They definitely, your ex, first of all, remembers you with kind of like the fondness of how like a child remembers like a very positive, glowing childhood. So time for beginner mind is the whole idea that when you remember things, or when you experience them, actually, it's almost like you're a kid again, like you're experiencing everything for the very first time. Like you're seeing the world in this kind of like beautiful, kind of like mystical way. So that's kind of like how they mainly remember how they felt with you, which is like really great. It's a really beautiful thing. We see spend quality time together right here, listen and talk to each other, that you both were like really good at like giving enough effort into the relationship to spend time with each other and make each other happy in that department. What we see here with how they view you, koi fish spirit, there is always enough. So basically it's like, just reiterating what I just said, is that you would always find time to spend with them. You were very dedicated to this relationship. There was always enough time and energy that you would put into the relationship with them, and you always like almost like not suffocating, but because they didn't feel suffocated, but there was just like you put in so much energy, you put in so much kind of like how do I put this? Care. You put in a lot of care and attention and time into this person. Into them, or that's at least how they felt. They felt like you always had unlimited supplies of love for them, that you were just overflowing with abundance in the love department. So how they remember the relationship, 10 of Pentacles first we have here is when they started the relationship, they really thought that this was going to be the type of person that, you know, they really thought they could have a family with you. They really thought they could settle down, have a family, a financially secure future. This always is enough, just shows a person who is bountiful and abundant. You almost glow with this sense of abundance. If you look at this koi fish, she's glowing with this orange glow, right? And I definitely see that contrasted with the green as this kind of beautiful, abundant nature. Anyway, they definitely saw that they could have like this family with you, that they, you know, everything seemed to line up perfectly, right? And even your family values, how you guys got along with each other's families was even pretty good. You know, it's almost like each one of you kind of got along with the other one's parents very well. And we see here with this Knight of Pentacles energy, it just shows that they thought that you were this very like good, solid option. Like you were very reliable. They assumed you were very reliable and responsible and really just a wonderful, reliable partner to have. Everything looked really harmonious. Everything looks really harmonious in how they view the relationship. But then we get into this Tower energy. So there was some kind of sudden disaster or upheaval that happened. And I can see it affected either how they perceived you or how you are as a person and how you changed. So this kind of disaster, this kind of like shake up, whatever it was, this kind of like big thing in your relationship. I definitely see it right in the middle. So they definitely hung around after this period of time to like spend with you to see if things would change. They definitely wanted things to work out. Or they were trying to make things work out. But this change really changed how they perceived you. So they definitely thought you were a very reliable partner, someone who is like very, dedicated and very slow and steady wins the race type. But then they saw that you transformed into this Knight of Wands person. And that's a very fast moving energy. Knight of Wands is a risk taker, a very charming, coquettish type of person who is kind of very like, not romantic, but like passionate, like less of like debonair and more like robust. So they definitely saw you turning into this more like having more of a risk-taking nature. And that kind of like turned them off a little bit. It kind of disturbs this whole beginner mind thing, right? Where they kind of were seeing things and how they remember the relationship of seeing things is with this fresh perspective, how everything was brand new and how you gave them plenty of time. They saw this kind of like more risky behavior that you were getting yourself into because of this tower energy. That was very like kind of disturbing to them, and it led to this Nine of Swords energy. So they definitely remember both sides of your nature. It's very separated from the tower. They're very aware that this event happened in your relationship and that it definitely changed you. That's kind of how they see it and how they feel. And they kind of remember that after this situation with this Knight of Wands energy, that they felt this Nine of Swords energy, which is just a little bit of anxiety, stress. It kind of kept them up at night. And that kind of anxiety is what kind of drove the relationship apart in the end. Maybe I'm sensing that they maybe broke up with you, but it could have been the other way around. Because, relationships like, different people can end them. I'm not reading anything like that. But basically they had that, this kind of like change in personality that you went through and how you change your behavior, and people grow and different things happen to different people. And sometimes sudden catastrophic events in our life can alter our behavior in specific ways. Changing for better or for worse, it just happens, the change happens and we become a different person, so it's just that you kind of became a different person. But they definitely always remember you as always like showering them with love, always being there for them, always giving them so much of your attention, spend quality time together, listen and talk to each other. They remember this like communication between you two that was really fruitful and amazing. And, it's just like the good parts that they remember were good, but they definitely see that your personality changed, and what started out very happy and feeling very lovely and almost like a perfect relationship turned out to be, for them, having a little bit more ridden with anxieties, right? So they had this beautiful worldview in the beginning, but their mind got a little shattered and a little more disturbed by this risk-taking nature. And because that was part of the glue that was holding the relationship together, was how they felt around you, how everything was brand new, everything started to feel a little unsafe. And just like a child who is experiencing life for the first time, if they have that kind of unsafe feeling, then, they're, especially this person's going to bounce, porcupines can be a little defensive. So yeah, I hope that helped. This is how your ex remembers you. If you like this reading, you can like or comment below. If you really like this reading, you can subscribe to my channel. I post pick cards like this pretty frequently. I really enjoyed reading for you guys. This seemed like a very sweet relationship before the end of it happened. And these things happen to a lot of us, and our personalities are always kind of changing. It's just kind of the flow and nature of life. But yeah, with that said, moving on to group number 3. Okay guys, this is if you picked the green calcite as your crystal. This is for group 3. Okay, so let's get into your reading. So first we have pig spirit, kind of like, and moss spirit. This is how your ex viewed themselves in the relationship and how they viewed you in the relationship. So your ex definitely viewed themselves as a very smart, intelligent person. They definitely viewed themselves as someone they viewed themselves as smarter than you, and kind of there was more of like a superiority kind of thing going on with them over you. Because we have moth spirit surrender now, and this just shows that kind of there was a little element of kind of like how the mind conquers the heart. So it was definitely an aspect of like logic over emotion, right? And in this situation, logic won, right? And that leads to this kind of remembrance of how they remembered it. Honesty is essential. Speak with love and truth. They remember the relationship being honest mostly, but they also remember the relationship is like kind of like not as fully honest as they would have wanted. So they kind of know that you made an effort to be as honest as possible, but they kind of wish there was just more truth being told between the two of you. They want something that's really honest. And this is just coming through very strong for their expectations of a relationship rather than kind of how they remember you. But it looks like their memories are a little bit laced with expectations. This type of person, even though they're very logical, I can receive from this reading here too that they are, they've got like this kind of like expectations of how relationships should develop. And they kind of like focus on making that a reality or trying to make that reality. Now we see here when the relationship first started out, so with this Six of Cups energy, they remember the beginning of the relationship being really like wonderful and kind of like they were a kid again, right? Like their kind of curiosity and sense of play was kind of ignited again when the two of you met. We definitely see here with the Page of Wands, there was a lot of like inspiration, and beyond just inspiration, there was a lot of assessment of each other's personalities, positive assessment. So there was, in a weird way, they kind of like understood you, or they felt like they understood you, but they remember that you showed them many more insights into their personality than they would have ever known themselves, right? Both of you seem to be very assessment focused in this relationship, that you both assessed each other, and there was this kind of assessment phase after the initial like playfulness of you guys being kind of like, I don't know if you can see this, it's this little girl and she's like at a tea party with some stuffed animals. After this initial playfulness in the relationship, you guys started assessing each other's strengths, right? And that's where the relationship got a little intense. But in a good way for the time being for you both. That's how you remembered it, is that it was good at this moment. They remember that you started assessing each other's things, and you guys started focusing less on love and more on pragmatic pursuits like money. And we see here with the Six of Pentacles and the Five of Pentacles, there was a lot of kind of like, and even with the Wheel of Fortune over here, we see that there's this whole gambling aspect to your relationship. So there's this whole idea of kind of like living really, really large and like spending lots of money, and then also living like really, really poor and like not having anything. And there was just lots of up and downs in the money and the finances. And it kind of put a strain on the relationship, because when one person wanted to start a project and start making money, the other one was more content to sit on the sidelines and not do anything. We also see that there might have been issues if you guys weren't combining your finances, that maybe one of you had more money than the other one at any given time. And so there was this whole aspect of trying to give money to the other person, but then the other person just felt more inadequate because they weren't making money too. It's almost like you have two providers in a relationship. And because you were both trying to be the provider, it was as if there was this sense of like competition. So, and that can also be flipped in the other side, that both of you could be kind of like, what's the opposite of a provider? A taker? I know it's not a taker. Taker's too harsh for what I'm trying to come across with. But basically, if both of you were like taker personalities, then it's like you would both, it's kind of like this thing where you both had like strengths in the same departments, basically, and you had weaknesses in the same departments. So there was like more competition than cohesion. And the finances were just so up and down that it brought a lot of like instability to the relationship. Eventually, this is kind of the point where they saw you surrendering to them, and it was kind of almost inevitable how it was, because this is such a smart person and a very like mind-focused, dominant person. And we see that they use your mind wisely. I'm actually seeing is their idea and their hopes for the relationship was that you guys were going to make it big, that you were almost going to make it rich, that the money was more important than the relationship itself, and that the love, more important than the love itself. Even though they wanted that kind of honesty and they appreciated the honesty that you brought to the table, they definitely saw this relationship as kind of like having too many ups and downs financially for their kind of like big goals that they wanted for their financial future. We definitely see, though, now looking back on the relationship, and even at this point, they still see the relationship as something that could be successful. So even if you two are split up, they definitely look back and think there's a little bit of hope. So even though they had these doubts in this beginning part with the up and down financially things, they definitely see this. And with the Wheel of Fortune especially, I'm taking this quite literally, the Wheel of Fortune, and I'm definitely seeing the fortune aspect of like the money. They definitely have this, there's this gambling nature, right? Where they see you as kind of like a good luck charm that they want to kind of hold on to. But what I see here is they don't remember their relationship as like a form of love or kind of like sentimentality. They definitely just view, it's very pragmatic how they're viewing the relationship. And it kind of grew into that. And they definitely see that, but they're definitely more in this money mindset. And that's definitely the part that they kind of value a little bit more. They do remember this parts of like the fondness of the childlike nature when you guys first started, you know, the first spark of romance where you both felt like kids again. And then also this assessment period where you both were assessing each other's strengths and making those big battle plans. But they really had the most fun in these ups and downs, but they're kind of hesitant to. It's kind of like, I had fun, but it wasn't the kind of investment that, I didn't get the kind of return on my investment that I was looking for, basically. But they still have hope that it could work out in the future. This is actually a person that if you probably wanted to ask them out again or try to make another stab at the relationship or try to get back with them, that they would possibly say yes and like start dating you again, if that's what you want. If you broke up with them and, you know, that happened, then it's probably, you know, they probably are just probably the ones. That's kind of what I'm seeing too here, is kind of like, I'm seeing that you probably broke up with them. You know, it's hard, especially in this kind of like dominant kind of like with moth spirit. This is definitely surrender now. I just kind of see someone who's has to be put into a more submissive role. And that's like never really fun for anyone. Because, you know, you never really get to be yourself and you're kind of always, not on the defense, but you're just never really like getting to show your own strengths. And what we see here is that was a true thing, is that you guys had the same strengths. And so there's no mutual reciprocity in that department. But they definitely remember, I'm digging too far into the other aspects of the relationship. But that's basically how they remembered you, this kind of like up and down with the money, the assessment of talents and abilities, and this childhood like kind of like fondness for each other in the beginning of the relationship. They definitely remember it being an honest relationship, but they definitely wanted more of that. They wanted more, you to tell them more, like more honesty, like more, you know, maybe not like just be quiet, but tell them more and more and more, you know? All right, well, that was it. If you picked the green calcite, if you liked the reading, you can like or comment below. If you really like the reading, you can subscribe to my channel. I post pick a cards like this pretty frequently. And with that said, we are moving on to the last group, group 4. Okay, guys, this is for group 4. This is if you picked the Kunzite. So let's get into your reading. So first of all, with Parrot Spirit, well, Parrot Spirit is going to represent how they viewed themselves in the relationship, and Owl Spirit's how they viewed you in the relationship. So what we have with Parrot Spirit, watch your words, they definitely viewed themselves as having to be careful around you because they definitely saw you as very impressionable, but also very smart. Sorry, my fridge is like making a weird noise and it's like distracting me. Hold on, give me a second. Let me collect my thoughts. Okay, so they definitely see you as very impressionable. But at the same time, they definitely had this aspect with you that they felt like they were, you know, kind of enlightening you. But they definitely had to watch what they said around you because they were nervous that they were going to say the wrong thing, and then you would get the wrong idea in your head, and then you kind of wouldn't see clearly anymore. So they definitely had to watch what they said, because they definitely saw this whole aspect of almost like teaching you, but more of like they knew their words had great impact on what you did. They knew that you were really listening to them. They saw you as someone who really listened, who was very wise and smart, but also very impressionable. Be authentic is funny that this is here. It says, be real and true to who you are and how you feel. This is just an interesting tidbit, because they definitely saw you being authentic with them, but they also kind of felt like for themselves that they might not have been being the most authentic with you, but they also felt like they really couldn't be authentic with you, because they were worried that you were going to kind of take quite literally in like everything that they said and like follow through with it and do it. So they couldn't really share every single thought that they wanted to with you, or because they were worried you would take all of them too literally. There's this whole idea that they felt like they were being put on a pedestal, so to speak, and you were kind of admiring them like a lot. What we see here too, though, with interesting thing with the parrot spirit and owl spirit is you're both bird creatures, right? So your relationship would have felt very light anyway. So even though I'm speaking and it sounds like very heavy energy, this is very lighthearted, like fun, playful energy. Very, what's the best way to put it? Ethereal energy. There's definitely, you two are very kind of like spiritual beings. I guess you could say that both of you are both on like a higher spiritual plane, like equally. There's this aspect that you probably could have known each other in past lives. It's something like that. We definitely see here, okay, let me get into the relationship. They remember the relationship starting out pretty poorly. They remember the beginning of your relationship being kind of like a drag, that you guys kind of like didn't really click too well. Like maybe you both knew each other, but you didn't really like click or get along that well, because there wasn't really like that catalyst. But what we see right here with the Seven of Wands is there was a catalyst. So basically what happened is one of you got attacked, or almost got attacked, and the other one stood up for the other one and came to their defense and really showed them that you were there to protect them, right? And I'm definitely seeing this more as them, that they had to protect you, but it could have been either or. This is just representing the catalyst, and what they remember is just this catalyst of the relationship. That once you realized that you guys were in it together and you were defending each other from external attacks, that really just bonded you two very deeply. And that's one of the catalytic moments that they remember very clearly in the relationship. Then became this dreaming phase, which we have with the Seven of Cups, where you have like one guy right here is holding like a scroll and reading, and the other guy's pointing to this tree in the sky. So there's definitely this whole idea of kind of, one has the map and the other has the vision. One's pointing the way and the other one is like seeing like how to get there. It's kind of that whole mentality. And it's definitely the Seven of Cups is a very fantasy oriented card. So you both were very, very imaginative, and you kind of lived in this dream world with each other. What we see here with the Emperor is that they definitely, this whole power trip thing definitely got to them eventually, like where they felt like you were putting them on a pedestal, and they kind of felt like this superiority where they kind of had to watch what they had to say all the time for fear of kind of like you taking it the wrong way and doing something. They definitely, this became kind of like a complex, almost like a god complex with them, where they kind of felt like very powerful. And there's two things here. They liked it and they didn't like it. They didn't like it because I think as humans, we all want to feel human every now and again. We want to feel that we are not insignificant. We just want to feel kind of like, this person at least remembers wanting to feel normal, but they also enjoyed this. So it's a little mixed bag of both. But basically this specific complex of them kind of being like in a superior position to you got a little out of hand towards the end of the relationship, and that's probably why you guys split. But it's almost like when they left you with some words, like some amazing words of insight, because we have the Ace of Swords here, right? Which is just matched with the Owl Spirit you see clearly now. It's just saying that they left you with this great and utter epiphany. but they kind of flew away, you know, and especially because both of you are bird creatures, there's kind of like this aspect of migration that when it's time and the seasons around you are changing, you're going to migrate to another location. You're going to migrate somewhere else. So this is an X that is possible. This is just a seasonal thing, I guess you could put it, where they might come back to you. There might be still more growth in this relationship. I know sometimes when we really want to get over an ex and you don't want to hear that because, you know, you're like, I want them out of my life. But I'm really reading for this relationship that it was very beneficial for both of you. And you almost had a kind of very pleasant time. At least that's how they remembered it. But they definitely felt that they were, you know, being put on that pedestal, and that was kind of uncomfortable for them. That's probably one of the reasons why the relationship split. But other than that, they remember all these like moments in the relationship, especially this one standing out to me most. The moment where you both defended each other against kind of an external threat. That's really a bonding moment that they really remember very clearly and vividly. They also remember this moment very vividly, this imagination moment where you guys were both just in your own dream world, right? So maybe authenticity was a little bit of a challenge in their relationship. But other than that, that's how they felt about you. That's how they viewed the relationship now. If you like the reading, you can like or comment below. If you really like the reading, you can subscribe to my channel. I post pick-a cards like this pretty frequently. With that said, that was the last reading. So I really enjoyed reading for you guys. And yeah, I guess I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.